The sea always had its own way of connecting strangers. For Marielle, it felt like a place where the world softened, where rules dissolved with the tide. That day the waves shimmered under the afternoon sun, rolling lazily onto the sand, and the air smelled of salt and freedom. It was a beach unlike any other, a place where no one hid behind clothes, titles, or masks. Here people walked as they were, unashamed, unguarded, free. Marielle stepped onto the sand barefoot, her hair catching the soft breeze. She carried only a towel and a book, but her mind carried more. A quiet hunger she had never dared to admit aloud. She wanted to feel alive, wanted to taste something real, something unrestrained. Perhaps that was why she chose this beach, because here, at least for a moment, she could simply be. And then she saw her. At first it was just a shape in the distance. Someone lying on a towel, legs stretched lazily, a book propped in her hands. But as Marielle walked closer, the details sharpened and her heart skipped. A woman, beautiful, skin kissed by the sun, curves that seemed sculpted by the sea itself, long dark hair stirring with the wind. There was an ease in the way she reclined, one hand holding the book, the other tracing idle patterns in the sand. She looked as though she belonged entirely to the moment, like a goddess in disguise. Marielle slowed her steps, caught in the spell. Her stomach tightened, a rush of warmth flooding her as her eyes traced the lines of the stranger's figure. It wasn't just beauty, it was presence, confidence, a quiet fire that pulled her in with invisible threads. The woman turned a page, her gaze lifting for only a second, but that second was enough. Their eyes met. The connection was electric, sharp as lightning, yet soft as the ocean breeze. Marielle felt her breath hitch, her pulse race. Her fingers clenched the towel she carried as if to ground herself, but inside, waves were crashing, louder than the sea. She spread her towel a few steps away, though her body screamed to move closer. Every stolen glance pulled her deeper into the orbit of this woman, whose very existence seemed like temptation made flesh. She tried to open her book, to lose herself in words, but the letters blurred. All she could see was the curve of a smile, the tilt of her head, the way the sun glowed against her skin. What if... The thought came uninvited, sharp and intoxicating. What if she walked over, introduced herself? What if their hands brushed, their voices mingled, their laughter rose above the sound of the tide? What if this beach, this moment, became the start of something she had always dreamed of but never dared to touch? The sea whispered against the shore, as though daring her to find out. Marielle tried to lose herself in the pages of her book, but every sentence faded into meaningless lines of ink. The woman beside her was too radiant, too magnetic. She glanced again, just for a heartbeat, and saw her still reading, her lips parted slightly, her eyes focused, unaware of the chaos she was causing only a few steps away. Or maybe she wasn't unaware, because when Marielle looked again, she found the woman's gaze already waiting for hers. Calm, unhurried, but heavy with something unspeakable. A smile touched the corners of her mouth, not wide, not obvious, but enough to send heat rushing through Marielle's veins. The silence between them stretched until it became unbearable. Marielle's chest rose and fell with nervous breath, and finally she whispered to herself, "Do something. Say something." Gathering courage, she stood, clutching her book as though it could anchor her. The sand felt hot beneath her feet as she took the few steps separating them. The woman lowered her book slowly, her eyes never leaving Marielle. "Hi," Marielle managed, her voice softer than she intended. The woman's smile deepened, warm and knowing. "Hi," she replied, her voice rich and smooth, carrying a rhythm that wrapped around Marielle like the tide. For a moment, that was all. 2 letters, 2 syllables, enough to make Marielle's stomach twist into knots. She gestured awkwardly toward the book in the woman's hands. "What are you reading?" The woman tilted the cover just enough for her to see. A novel. Something classic, filled with longing and passion. "It's one of my favorites," she said. "But I have to admit, it's been hard to concentrate." Her eyes lingered deliberately on Marielle as she said it, and the meaning was impossible to mistake. Heat rose to Marielle's cheeks. She laughed nervously, lowering her gaze for a moment before daring to look back. I know the feeling," she admitted. The woman closed her book gently, setting it aside. "I'm Selene," she said, extending her hand. "Marielle." Their fingers touched, and the moment was electric. Warmth spread through Marielle's body, not just from the sun but from the softness of Selene's skin against hers. She didn't want to let go. Selene's eyes held hers, steady and unblinking. "It's nice to meet you, Marielle." Her name sounded different in Selene's voice, like it had been waiting all along for someone else to speak it. They sat together then, the silence no longer empty but full, brimming with possibility. The waves whispered at their feet. The sun dipped lower, painting the sky in gold and pink. Every second stretched, fragile and beautiful, like the first notes of a song neither wanted to end. For Marielle, it was terrifying and intoxicating all at once. This wasn't just attraction, it was gravity, pulling her into an orbit she could no longer resist. And when Selene's hand brushed lightly against hers in the sand, lingering for just a heartbeat too long, Marielle knew. The spark had already ignited into flame. The sun had slipped lower, painting the waves with molten fire. The air was heavy, thick, carrying the scent of salt and promise. Marielle sat beside Selene, their shoulders brushing as though by accident, though neither of them pulled away. The tension was unbearable now, not silence, not emptiness, but heat, vibrating between them like the charge before lightning. A wave reached their feet, cool water wrapping around their ankles. Marielle gasped at the sudden chill, and Selene laughed, low and rich, the sound sending shivers through her. The laugh melted into silence again, but this time it was different. Selene turned, her gaze steady, unreadable, and in that gaze Marielle felt stripped bare, as if every thought, every secret, every unspoken longing had been revealed. Selene's hand moved slowly, deliberately, tracing a line along Marielle's wrist. The touch was soft, almost cautious, but it carried the force of a storm. Heat rushed through Marielle's body, drowning out reason, leaving only sensation. Her breath grew shallow. The world narrowed to the space between them, a space that vanished when Selene leaned in. Their lips met with the crash of a wave. It wasn't tentative, it was fire meeting fire. Wet from the sea breeze, warm from the sun, the kiss was desperate, hungry, unrestrained. Marielle's hands found Selene's shoulders, then her back, pulling her closer, closer, until their bodies pressed together. Their skin was damp, salty, glowing in the last rays of the sun, every movement slick with heat and water. The sea rose higher, washing over them, soaking their clothes, but neither cared. The water only heightened everything, each kiss deeper, each touch sliding against wet fabric, each breath hotter than the last. Selene's hand slid along Marielle's side, her fingers trembling with the force of holding back, yet unable to stop. Marielle arched into the touch, a soft sound escaping her lips, swallowed immediately by Selene's mouth. The world blurred, There was only the pounding of waves, the rhythm of hearts, the press of lips, the clash of need and surrender. Time dissolved into the taste of salt on their tongues, the sting of sand against their knees, the fire in their bodies that no water could extinguish. Marielle had never felt this alive, this consumed, this undone. Every kiss was a confession, every touch a promise, every gasp a surrender to something greater than either of them. And when they finally broke apart, breathless, their foreheads pressed together, Marielle's lips trembling against Celine's, she whispered the only truth she knew. "I can't stop." Celine's smile was fierce, tender, devastating. "Then don't," she breathed, and the waves crashed again, as if sealing their vow. Two bodies, two souls, drowning in a storm of desire the sea itself couldn't contain.